going on, everybody? Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Make some noise, clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We're back with another action-packed show for you today, as we always do, covering the world of the NBA and boxing. Basketball and boxing is what we normally cover on this channel. And wait, before we even continue, look at what we got, ladies and gentlemen. We got shirts. We got merchandise. Can't you see it? Ain't it beautiful? Oh, wait, hold on. Let me get the camera right. Let me back up a little bit. Oh, boy. Look at it. Ain't it just stunning? Isn't it just beautiful? Ain't it good? Not just because it's on me, even though I'm a bad-looking brother. I look great. But even though it's on me, just objectively, oh, yeah, my design. We did it. We made it. We are getting merchandise made for this show. This is you all's first preview as to what we got. Not only that, not just with shirts, we also got canisters, merchandise galore. Can't you see it? Your own travel thing for wherever the world, working out on your job, going to a bar, going to a shop, whatever the case you may see that you need fit for this, you're going to have it available and on the back, just like on the shirt. Scan to join the empire. We are making stuff happen on this show, all thanks to you and your support. Again, it ain't ready for mass production yet. This is just a test run, a preview of what we're going to have in store coming down the line. And as this channel gets bigger and bigger, we will have this readily available in the future to be able to, for everybody to have, to buy, to be able to support the show. Oh, yes, indeed. And join the empire and encourage everybody else to do it as well. And again, thank you for all your support and all of your help in making even this possible. It's all thanks to you that we're even doing this in the first place. And I love doing this, and I'm hoping to turn this into a great career. All thanks to you all and your time listening, taking time out to hear my opinions, my thoughts, the facts, the breaking news, whatever the case may be on this channel. You all make this channel special. I'm just here to provide you all what you all want, and as fans, what you deserve. So thank you so much for all of your support. Again, clap it up for you and making this channel what it is right now, and how we're going to bolster and skyrocket into the ethos of the boxing and just sports media zeitgeist as a whole. We're going to be at the top. And it's all thanks to you and your support thus far and going forward. But again, all that stuff out the way, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about as the meat and potatoes of this show with Team USA, with a bunch of boxing news coming down the pipe with what potential fights may happen. Tank and Loma off. Who will be next? Potentially Shakur is on the horizon. A bunch of stuff going on with Canelo versus Edgar, Berlanga, my goodness, and so much more with Team USA. And now with the Olympics on the horizon, what has Lebron been doing? It's been so spectacular. And should we be worried about this USA squad? Much more is going to be covered on the show as well. Without further ado, hey, let's jump right into the world of sports. And since we all love boxing, so we're going to cover that first. And since we're talking about boxing, it is time to step into the ring. Hey, that's right. Ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one of this show going underway. Talking about Tank versus Vasily Lomachenko is officially done. That is right. My gosh. The fight that we were all waiting on, the fight I was clamoring for after Tank's masterful destruction of Frank Martin, going up and stepping up in competition, challenging for another title against Vasily Lomachenko, the Matrix himself. We thought that was going to happen. Now that is ixnay. That is no longer happening. It is a bona fide dud that fight's no longer happening. The reason why it is happening, for those of you all who are unaware, Vasily Lomachenko has said, per his team, he is not motivated to fight for the rest of the year. Not motivated to fight Tank. Wants to spend time with his family. Wants to spend time just getting back in tune with his life. Again, paraphrasing, but you can find the whole quote on the internet. I believe you can find it on ESPN. You can find it on Michael Benson, however you say his name, on Twitter. Very reputable boxing source for news and breaking happenings. But the point still stands. He's done. It's no longer happening. Lomachenko is not going to fight for the rest of 2024. He'll fight in 2025. He'll fight next year. There ain't going to be no more Lomachenko this year. No more Matrix happening. And this now X's out any opportunity to have Tank versus Lomachenko. A fight that would have been so masterful and really told the story of how good Tank really was going up against a savant of a boxer. And so everybody's saying, well, who ducked who? Was this a duck by Vasily Lomachenko? Is it an excuse not to fight Tank, who is now firmly in your line of sight as the guy that you got to go through if you want to get another belt? Because mind you, Tank is a champion at 135, was given the belt. Again, remember, after Devin Haney and all that stuff happening with him, relinquishing the belts at 135, they were out just in the ethos. Then the title got put on Tank. Vasily Lomachenko won his title against George Kambosos. So now, this is going to be an opportunity to unify. Now it's up in smoke. Who ducked who? Did Lomachenko duck Tank? With this essentially saying, I'm done for the year. And as much, yes. Let's keep it simple. We have to say yes. Reason being, Lomachenko, again, he just won a title. Just beat Lomachenko. It just beat George Kambosos. He was in line to now get a shot at going unified. Tank beat Frank Martin, was a champion, and was directly in his line of sight. And we've been clamoring for Loma and Tank to actually get in the ring with this, specifically on Tank's part, to finally get in the ring with Lomachenko. Get in the ring with somebody we see is of your caliber, somebody we know can give you problems. Go and fight him. Now that when the opportunity finally arises, when negotiations seem like they're heating up and things are finally going to come into fruition, we see Lomachenko is the one that pulled out. It wasn't Tank that stopped these negotiations. It was Lomachenko that stopped the negotiations with Tank. And he's the one that said, I'm not doing it for the rest of the year. We have to call this a duck. There's some consistency we've been calling out when it comes to ducking opponents over these past year and a half. When it comes to this channel, have to keep that same consistency. Lomachenko did indeed duck Tank Davis. It's the truth. We have to call it that. Now, I'm not saying he is scared, but I'm saying the move that he made, this has to be classified as a duck. However, this wasn't always the case. And there's an argument that we were all making. Was it that Tank was the one that was ducking Lomachenko first? So now it becomes like he said, she said. Who indeed was ducking who the majority of this time? Who's been the biggest duck in this entire scenario? Has it been Tank? Has it been Lomachenko? And when we look, this made me have to go back, really look to see what the history of this entire build up to this fight was. How the tracks of these two fighters really aligned to tell whether or not somebody did indeed duck somebody else. And with me going back, new things have arisen. And here's the story. When it comes to Tank versus Lomachenko, initially it was when Lomachenko was the pound for pound best in the world, was number one, and Tank was on the up and up. Lomachenko had called out Tank. Lomachenko said he was open to fight Tank. Lomachenko said he was ready to fight Tank. And it was up to the promoters. But he was ready to fight him. Said it himself. You can look at it in interviews as well. On the other side of the tracks, Tank, in the younger interviews, when he was on the come up, said that he was willing and able to fight Lomachenko. Said he was a great fighter, said he was making his own path, but said he's more than happy to fight him, more than open to fight him, ready to get in the ring with him. So both of these people have not wanted to duck one another. Neither of them have been looking to, for the majority of this time, not fight each other. Now looking back at history, what it was Floyd Mayweather. Because understand, up until 2022, Tank was under Floyd. Tank was under the guise, or not the guise, under the tutelage and the promotional direction of Floyd Mayweather. Since that was the case, Floyd was guiding his career very methodically, very much intentionally. And when the conversations of Tank and Loma came up, while Loma said he was ready, while Tank said he was ready, it was Floyd Mayweather who then went out and said, no, you don't need Loma right now. You can wait. You're building your own path. You're making as much money as he is fighting people that aren't of his same caliber. You are on the right track. That was Floyd Mayweather in his interview beside Tank Davis, who was literally right beside him, when asked about Lomachenko. Also, you can find the interview on YouTube. Also with Bob Arum, who Lomachenko was signed with. At that point in time, years ago, he was also saying the reason why Floyd or the reason why Tank hasn't been in the ring with Loma is because of Floyd Mayweather. It's been his MO not to make this fight happen. Don't ask me stupid questions that you already know the answer to. If you want to figure out why Lomachenko and Tank have not fought each other, go ask Floyd Mayweather, because he's the one that's holding this process up. That's what Bob Arum said. All of this tracks. And so for up until 2022, neither have ducked each other. Let's dump that noise right now. However, after 2022, there was an opportunity that we could have seen Tank fight Lomachenko. And here's why. When Tank and Floyd split in 2022, in May, their last fight together, I believe, was with Rolly Romero. After that, they were no longer contractually obligated to one another. Tank was free. After Rolly Romero, Lomachenko had fought Jermaine Ortiz in October. There could have been an opportunity, if I understand correctly, that Lomachenko and Tank could have fought in October after Tank's fight with Rolly Romero. And if that fight did happen, this could have changed the course of history. If, let's say, Tank won, Tank then goes on to fight Devin Haney for the undisputed title at 135. And now Tank is the one that's moving up to 140 instead of Devin Haney, who moves up to 140 as one of the best in the world. And if that had happened, we could be saying Tank definitively right now is top 3. If that fight did happen, and if we did see him beat Loma and beat Devin Haney at 135 for undisputed, that would have been phenomenal. That would have been incredible. That is the track that could have happened after May 2022. And that was the one instance where I understand he fought Ryan Garcia and then fought Frank Martin. But if he had fought twice that year in 2022, he could have fought Loma instead of Loma fighting Jermaine Ortiz if he did push for it, if I understand history correctly. And so for that one instance, we could argue, hey, Tank, even though you were under Floyd and Floyd didn't let that fight happen, when you got free and you had an opportunity to go call out Lomachenko if you thought you were indeed ready, you still didn't do it. Now, with Lomachenko past his prime, though he is still elite, let's not get that twisted. Nowhere near I'm not going to say nowhere near, but he's not the pound for pound best in the world that he was when he was running boxing. Now, 36, how is he, 36, 37 just about, is not a spring chicken anymore. And now you want to fight him. Though, you could have fought him closer to his prime. And yet you still didn't. There are still things that we have to say as to, look, brother, you've had opportunities and you still didn't take them. You could have gotten in the ring with Lomachenko before and not gotten in the ring with Hector Luis Garcia. Even though I respect Luis Garcia. Really do. Still could have been that. Loma could have been that opponent. And you could have had a 4-fight run of Rolly, Loma, Ryan Garcia, Frank Martin. And potentially, if history went perfect, Rolly, Loma, Garcia, Haney. Yet now is when you are really pushing for him. When in the past, you could have been more deliberately calling out his name a lot more fervently. You could have called him out after fighting Ryan Garcia, closer to his prime. Well, at least closer than he is now. I'm not saying that Lomachenko is a scrub by any means, but I am saying that there is an opportune time that you are now looking to call him out. When we had wanted you to, both under Floyd and outside of Floyd, still get Lomachenko on your resume. And the reason why I'm not harping on Lomachenko nearly as much as I am on Tank, well, hey, Lomachenko could have been calling out Tank just as much. He could have. But what he was doing was going after titles. You can't, it's different if you can't knock somebody for going after legitimate legacy and not calling out another opponent. This isn't like Canelo, when Canelo achieved everything and then not giving another great boxer an opportunity, like with him and David Benavidez. This isn't like that. It's not like it. It's not like that at all. This is Lomachenko continually kept on fighting the tops in the division, who had belts, who had something of legacy value. And with Tank, you didn't do that at all. You could have been calling him out. We were saying that we wanted you to see him in the ring. Yet, the majority of the time, we're talking about outside of Floyd. We're talking about outside of Mayweather. Still, as much as you said you want bodies on your resume, you got people that you want to go and knock off a list, you got a list and you want everybody on there, you still did not go after and calling him out. There were plenty of opportunities. Again, before fighting Hector Luis Garcia, you could have put Loma in there. After fighting Ryan Garcia, you could have went after Lomachenko then. But no, you still didn't. This is where problems lie. Yes, Lomachenko ducked. There's no problem. I have no problem in it. Lomachenko ducked by not fighting Tank when now they are on a direct collision course. Both of them have belts. Now there really isn't any excuse. There really is not. You could have at least said, well, Tank doesn't have a belt yet in the division. So why fight? You could have at least said, there's nothing for that now. Nothing that you can hold for Lomachenko not to get in the ring with him now. On his end of the spectrum. None whatsoever. This is a duck. Because you were at the table and you left the table willingly. Because you didn't get motivated. Now, that may be because of personal things aside. Whatever the case may be. You were in line to fight him and you were the one that pulled out. Not because of injury. This is a duck. Completely understand. Now going beyond it. Tank also, after Floyd, when he wasn't under the Mayweather regime, had his control over his own career, still did not call him out when at the apropos time when everybody still wanted to see it. Everybody still wants to see it, don't get me wrong. But at the bigger heights of what that fight could have been, you still did not do it. You could have replaced Hector with Loma, could have called him out after Ryan Garcia, instead of fighting Frank Martin, which I respect with Frank Martin. But my whole thing was, Loma should have already been on that resume by now. It shouldn't be that, even though I love Frank Martin as a next step up, it should have been, if we're being completely honest, after Ryan Garcia, Lomachenko's the very next name that should have been called out. Him or Shakur. No questions asked. That's what it should have been, but it wasn't. Now it is. And we have to say, this is where questions lie. And we'll get into the fight with potentially Tank versus Shakur afterwards. No doubt about it. But let's ask this question real quick. When it comes to Tank versus Lomachenko, will Tank get the respect that he deserves? We've already talked about this in the last episode, I believe. You can go listen to the last part of the podcast, or the last podcast that we put up on this channel. If we see Tank and Loma get in the ring with each other, will Tank get as much respect for this win now that it's an older Lomachenko? And like I said then, I'm saying it again now, no, he won't. He definitely won't. Because this is an older version, a more diminished version of a great fighter. Similar to what we've seen with the Mayweather path for his career, where he fought people. He still got names on his resume, don't get me wrong. But it's not the at their peak, at their best names. It just wasn't for a lot of his career. And now when it comes to Tank, we're running into that same thing. You're fighting people, yes. But now, like with Lomachenko, you're fighting people after their prime or not at their best. This is what we don't want to see. And this will, while if you do win, it'll be incredible for your legacy. Don't get me wrong. But it won't get the same level of respect because we will understand context is everything when it comes to these fights. When it comes to telling the story of a boxer's career, context is everything. And with context to what's going on, we have to say, you didn't fight Loma when he was at his very best. And you had an opportunity to. even with you being held back by Floyd Mayweather, still, as much blame as Floyd deserves for not having that fight happen. When it came down for your own legacy to be made and you had your own full control, you still waited 3 fights to call him out, to push for negotiations, to actively get in the ring with this man. That's what happened. That's what happened. You waited 3 fights, and after Ryan Garcia, you still didn't fight him. It was still a great opponent that you fought in Frank Martin. We don't diminish that. But we also understand that up until that point, while that type of fight is a fight that we wanted to see on a more consistent basis, still, when it came to you and your greatness, it should have already been at that level years ago. And we should have been seeing you versus Loma the very next fight, not you versus Frank, in the best case scenario that your career should be on. You didn't do it. That's what we had to look at. Tank is not going to get the same level of respect that he would have gotten if he had fought Lomachenko at his very best, closer to his prime, earlier in his career, specifically after Rolly Romero and after Ryan Garcia. Would have had no qualms. But now we're going to look at it and say you fought an older Lomachenko. While he is still great, now, what this is going to be held against you. It will. For better or for worse, it's going to be held against you. And I hate it, but that's the fact of the matter. So nobody, up until now, Loma didn't duck Tank. Tank didn't duck Loma. But after Floyd Mayweather after Tank got free of Floyd Mayweather, now it was Tank's opportunity to do exactly what he should have done in getting these big fights made on a consistent basis. And instead, you went with Hector Garcia. Could have called out Loma then. Then you go and fight Ryan Garcia. Great. Afterwards, still didn't call out Lomachenko. Still waited a year. And then fought Frank Martin, which we respect. But it's not the best opponent that you could have picked. Now you're going to pick Lomachenko after essentially it's inevitable. It's impossible to get away from it now. And with Tank, last thing, the hardest part about Tank's career is the fact that with Tank's career, he's choosing legacy later in life. He's 32, 31, 32 years old. Still young, in his prime. Love it. But I've been saying this countless times. He should be at a higher level than we view him as right now. Should not be just now we're starting to see more consistent major fights happening on a night-to-night occasion when it comes to Tank getting in the ring. It shouldn't be. Now, even if you can blame Floyd, fine. He meticulously plotted out Tank's career. No problem. We understand it. But ever since you got in the range yourself, you're still doing the same thing to some degree. We should be seeing you further along in your greatness and in where you are being tested now. We shouldn't be saying your biggest test is going to be Lomachenko now. Lomachenko should have already been there. It shouldn't be that the biggest name on your resume is Ryan Garcia. A hurt Ryan Garcia, mind you. It should not be that Isaac Cruz hasn't gotten his rematch yet. It should not be that you only have a championship to your name in umpteen years. And that you are saying you don't care about belts when all the best had belts. It shouldn't be that we were looking for you and Devin Haney to fight against each other. That fight should have already been happening, or at least been pushed to at least try to make happen. That's what Tank's career is. Everything about Tank it's about time. That's what I don't like about Tank Davis. As great as he is, Everything with his career has always been with the caveat of, well, it's about time. It's about time you got tested like this. It's about time we saw some consistency like this. It's about time that you went and got to the table with Lomachenko. Whether it was his fault or not, it's about time. Because both situations, he's been held back. Either when he was under Floyd, held back, or by himself, he was held back of his own volition. That's what we're looking at when it comes to Tank. Every time we want to see how great he can be, we know what he can do, but you still got to show it. And you did great against Frank Martin. Again, you're in top 10 pound per pound in my estimation after that performance. Love it. This is what we need to see. As I've said before, we need to see more of it, though. And the fact that we're not seeing more of it on a consistent basis gives me a lot of concern. So much concern when it comes to you and your career and how we can look at you as a great boxer. From a talent perspective, you're there. But from a greatness perspective, you're not. And you're playing catch up. Or rather trying to, as the legs of your career begin to wind down, now you're looking to push the pace. Which is, again, it's about time. That's where the issue comes. You faced off against Leo Santa Cruz. We love it. Cool. Then there was a lull. Then you faced off against Isaac Cruz. Great. Then you faced off against Mario Barrios. Great. But as those fights went on, it was pockets of, okay, here we go. Here's the run. And then you go back to a stall. Yeah, that's what happens. You get on a run, you get us excited. We're seeing you, okay, it's getting closer and closer. All right, it's about time for you to face off against the best in the division. This is it. Get the money ready. It's getting ready to roll in with one of the best high profile fights. And then you don't keep on doing it. That's where issues lie. That's where issues lie. After you went Leo Santa Cruz, Mario Barrios, Isaac Cruz. Great run of resumes. Love that. Afterwards, Rolly Romero, Hector Garcia. And hurt Ryan Garcia that while the name value was absolutely there, don't get me wrong. Oh, his name was big, huge. But the talent was nowhere close. We knew the talent was nowhere close. Knew it and understood it down to a T. Ryan Garcia at that point in time was nowhere close to have business in the ring with Tank Davis. It should have been Loma. Let's be perfectly honest. From a talent standpoint. But we still can't knock it because, again, it was another high. He got Ryan Garcia. Loved it. Just a big name and a big name. We need that on a more consistent basis. So we give that credit. It happened. He won. We love it. Then afterwards, he goes and fights Frank Martin when, again, Lomachenko could have been on the docket for you. The problem isn't that you're fighting. No. It's just the consistency in greatness. It's something that we want to see on a more repetitious pace. We're not saying you have to fight a top 5 in the world every single night out. No. But there should be a baseline of respectable opponents that we see you get in the ring with. And it hasn't been the case. Every high, there's a low. There's a come on now. There's a what the world. Hey, what you doing? Your resume's looking better now, which is great. But it's about time. Do you see what I'm saying? It's about time. If we keep saying it's about time, everything's going to be with the caveat of, well, to some degree, the butter that you're fighting is diminished. That's what we're going to be saying. That's what's going to be held against you. Not because you're not great, but because, again, context, as we covered. You're potentially hurting your own legacy with you now trying to play catch up. Again, now that you're doing it great, But this is what you should have been running in your race as a boxer years ago. And it looked like you were on track, and then you don't. Mind you, with Isaac Cruz, nobody gave Isaac Cruz any real respect up until after that Tank fight. Then we saw, oh man, Isaac Cruz, hey, that's a dog. That's a real dog. Injured Tank or not, that's a real dog. We gave that respect off of the performance of the other guy. Not necessarily just because, oh, Tank is just that great of a fighter. Tank went up against somebody that we completely underestimated in terms of Isaac Cruz. And Isaac Cruz showed up and showed out. Give him a rematch. No. No. Why? He was too difficult. Well, ain't that what you want? When Floyd had a close fight or a competitive fight, he went back and dominated him. That's what he did. That's what other greats have done when they have fought. And you are not following suit. And if you want to be great, you got to follow the same path as other greats of the past. That means you need to consistently have challenges put in front of you. A baseline of respectable talent. That's what it's got to be. And with Tank, it hasn't been like that. And now, playing catch up. And if your whole career we're going to be saying, well, it's about time, that's going to lead to situations like with Loma, where you won't get the full respect that you deserve. Because if we're saying it's about time you fought somebody, that means that you might have waited them out to the point that they are not what they used to be. And with that type of approach, you're going to be vilified still. At that point, no, you can't win with some fans because they will continue to have you as you play the waiting game. You still don't fight the best at their best. You fight the best when they're on a decline. Where they're still good, but they're not the opponent that we saw that could beat you. That's not the same. That's what people are going to be looking at you if you're Tank Davis. And we don't want that, but that's what could happen. But also when it comes to the next part of this news, Shakur and Gervonta Davis. Now it's looking like they're going to fight each other. And this is where we see, okay, stuff is ramping up now. This is what we want to see on a consistent basis. Hey, this will nix all that noise when it comes to Tank if he gets this fight actively going and makes it solidified. Now that they're at the negotiation table, reports are saying, at least close to Tank's camp, Tank and Shakur is close to actively happening. And we could get a mega fight between two of the hottest stars in boxing, or one of the most criticized and one of the most beloved. Tank being beloved, Shakur being criticized because nobody likes to watch him fight. But it's hard to beat. And so now we get to finally see potentially these two get in the ring with each other. And this, with everything I just said, this nixes that. And if you go at this level of pace, we love to see it. I initially said, before all of this, after the Frank Martin fight, you all remember, I said, after this fight, it's got to be Loma or Tank. It's got to be one or the other. And nobody else can be in your vicinity. If none of those fights are able to get made, you better move up to 140 immediately. Because there was no point in staying at 135. Because you've already said yourself, you don't care about getting titles. Since you don't, you better care about getting names. Or else, again, the respect won't be given to you and your career. Now with Shakur and Tank, if this fight does indeed happen, we are all looking to see if there's an official announcement. Because if somebody backs out of this, it's going to speak volumes, mega volumes, to how they view how this fight would have gone. Specifically, Shakur. If we see Shakur pull out of this fight, oh my gosh, my goodness. We know, hey, bombshell, this brother knows he can't beat Tank Davis. Knows. Now, he's confident. The brother is indeed skillful. And he has the ability to beat him. It's just going to be so incredibly hard to. Because the best formula that we've seen of recent has been Frank Martin. And we saw how that turned out. And Frank Martin, as defensive as he is, and as he was in that fight, nowhere close to the defensive, not just savantism, but also the defensive mindset that we see Shakur have on a night-to-night basis, to where even when Shakur should be able to open up, he still doesn't, because he's too defensive for his own good. He's too smart for his own good, as we've covered on the show before. And with Tank, now, if that fight does happen, hey, it'll be wonderful. It'll be phenomenal. But early prediction, Tank's going to knock him out. I can almost assure you Tank's going to knock him out. And it's because Shakur Stevenson right now is so defensively sound and is so adamant at doing the smart thing to keep himself safe that just like with Shakur, or just like with Frank versus Tank, we're going to see him back himself into a corner. Because the threat of what can come at him is going to be so big that he won't be able to cope with it. He'll be so scared of the danger that he won't willingly do anything to mitigate the danger. There's no opening that you can give to get hit or to hit somebody without getting hit yourself. And with Tank, that's going to be so heightened in the eyes of Shakur. We've seen him against Power already against De Los Santos. Again, hurt hand, understandable. Even with that, we saw what it was when he went up against Power. And he was out of there. He was. One of the worst performances of, I think, last year or early this year. Absolutely terrible. Still, it was because with that type of power and explosiveness, Tank didn't want to deal with it. Injury or not. When it came to Evanesian, we just covered it. Shakur said that he was, even when he was hurt, he was still too dangerous. A cornered rat is the most dangerous opponent. Or a cornered animal is the most dangerous animal. A cornered opponent and a hurt opponent is the most dangerous opponent. But he also said that he didn't want to open up because Evanesian was strong outright and didn't want to risk anything. That was before he got injured. So in both before Hard-Tunian got hurt. So with Hard-Tunian, in both instances, as we covered before, when you're hurt, you're too dangerous, and when you're not hurt, you're too dangerous. Everything sounds scary, hence I don't want to do anything. That's what Shakur stated himself. Since that's the case, we have to say, we have to. He wouldn't be able to fight Tank. He wouldn't. He wouldn't be able to beat Tank. We still want to see that fight happen. Prove us wrong if you can, indeed can. And there is a way that he can beat him, and I'll break it down once that fight gets fully announced. But point still stands as of right now. No. I don't see how Shakur can beat him. Not because he doesn't have the ability, because the mental state that he is as a fighter won't allow him to fight or beat somebody like Tank Davis. It just won't let him. It won't let him. Because it won't even allow for him to throw anything, let alone have the ability to go and apply his own level of pressure and stamp on the fight. It won't at all. And unlike De Los Santos, Tank can cut off the ring. You won't be running and getting away and gliding across the ropes for the entirety of that fight. Frank tried to do that, got knocked out. We're going to see that same potential thing happen with Shakur unless he changes his game plan by changing his mind. If he doesn't change his mind, we're not going to see the end of the fight because it's just going to be outright catch him and it's done. Because there will be no offense thrown at you to stop anything. But again, we'll break down that fight once it gets fully announced in full breath. And trust and believe, you're going to want to stay for that breakdown. But again, with that being said, we still got more to cover in the boxing world as we have to talk about a fight that I'm really not excited for, but it's going to happen anyway. Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga. My gosh. My goodness. We got a problem. We have a major... This is horrible. This is terrible. This is outright stupid on the side of Canelo. There is no business to be had with Edgar Berlanga in any way, shape, or form close to the top of boxing. He doesn't belong in the ring, doesn't belong in the locker room, doesn't belong in the arena as Canelo Alvarez. Yet, this is the fight that Canelo's taking. And yet, we still don't have David Benavidez versus Canelo. With all of this, we still don't have David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez. How is it that Berlanga, who is for all intents and purposes a bum compared to Canelo, nowhere close to accomplishing anything to put him in line to have an actual title shot? Yes, excuse me, let me rephrase it. He did earn an opportunity at a title. Yes, he did, because in his last fight, he got a knockout. And that fight was to qualify for the sweepstakes. Understandable. Him versus Jaime Munguia. Jaime Munguia won the sweepstakes, got the fight with Canelo, got beat, but still incredible display. Still want to see that brother fight more. Edgar Berlanga got there. He shouldn't be there, but he is there. Who should be there is David Benavidez. Yet that fight's not going to happen. And this is terrible. On the side of Canelo, if anything, if there was any point in time to give David Benavidez an opportunity for an active title shot, would be this. It would make all the sense in the world to make David Benavidez fight Canelo now. And for Canelo to call him out now, if we're going to go by a track record of people going up and down in weight, it makes more sense than ever to have David Benavidez fight Canelo right now. And for Canelo to give him that shot, because we've seen it where going up and down in weight hurts the body, hurts the performance of fighters, makes them susceptible to officially losing whatever that it factor was that made them so special. That's what Canelo could have had right at his feet, and still he doesn't give the opportunity with David Benavidez moving up to 175, force him back down to 168. If he says he can make it and still be just fine, make him prove it and potentially diminish his powers. If you want to get every advantage possible from what we see, you being scared of David Benavidez, this was the prime opportunity. This was it. This was absolutely, if any point in time was being done to give David a chance to fight for the titles, this was the time. And you still didn't do it. You still didn't do it. And you're fighting Edgar Berlanga, of all people, Edgar Berlanga. A brother who, again, outside of it, even in his last performance, still has not shown anything to give me credence to say he deserves to have a shot at any form of championship. His name isn't even that big. He's just, he was hot when he was getting all those knockouts in a row. But then once he got exposed, even in his wins, as somebody who just isn't all that, and he still gets these up. It's a stupid and ignorant thing that we had to deal with as boxing fans when it comes to not being able to get the fights that we want to see. And Canelo is the direct one that is holding all of this up. He is the man that's messing this up. And this is going to hurt him more than he thinks. Because this is going to hurt his legacy. This is going to hurt how we view Canelo. Because now, once he's got it all, instead of acting as a champion, he is acting as a champion. Now, that seems redundant. That seems like a stupid statement. But here's what I mean. When you act, there's two ways to act as a champion. You can act as a champion who's hungry, and you can act as a champion who has it all. Acting as a champion doesn't always just mean a good thing. If you sit on your laurels and you let yourself become lax in your willingness to keep on pushing yourself, then you're acting as a champion who has it all. And it's the worst thing for you. It's terrible. You then don't give people opportunities. You take easy fights. You act like you don't need to do anything. Conor McGregor right now in the UFC is acting, hey, like a champion, but one that's got it all. He don't even got a belt. He lost the belt and lost a couple times in his career. Yet still, he's acting like the man who's got it all. The man who has everything and needs nothing. Hence, I can just sit back and do whatever I want to do. That's what he's been doing over these past couple years. We saw it with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury acted as a champion, especially after his fight with Deontay Wilder. But he wasn't a champion that was still looking to challenge greatness. It was a champion that had it all. Fought Dillian White, fought Derek Chisora for a fourth or third time. Are you kidding me? Didn't go anywhere near Usyk up until it was inevitable. And Turkish Al Sheikh finally got in the ethos of boxing to say, you ain't got this much money, and to make him get in the ring. If it wasn't for that, he would have never fought Usyk, and we would have never gotten undisputed. That's acting as a champion, but it's as a champion who's got it all. And that's the worst thing you can have when you're looking to be great in the boxing realm. The worst thing you can have when you're looking to be great and to be somebody, looking to achieve what many people find as impossible. And with Canelo, we're looking at the same level of acting. He's holding himself as a champion, but who's got it all? Who doesn't need, he said it himself, he doesn't need to do what people tell him. He can do whatever he wants. Yes, he can. It comes with the consequence of how we view you. And how we view you is somebody who is running from the test. You're running from the challenge. We got on it with Tank. We got on it with Fury. We got to get on it with Canelo. And everybody else who acts that same way. If you act like you don't need to prove anything, and by that I mean there still aren't tests that need to be taken. There still aren't new blood that needs to be put in their place for you to show that you are indeed the better man. As the face of boxing, which Canelo is, you can just go and do whatever and everybody's going to flock to you. There's a reason why people are starting to hate on you. The reason why you're starting to get a lot of flack from the public that used to adore you. There is a reason why you in your career is looking more and more like a what a once was incredible, impactful career. A used to be. You're looking like a used to be. You used to be a Canelo that made everybody not only sit in their seats in awe and wonder, but you kept pushing yourself. Now you don't. You got undisputed and you still chose multiple times over your reign to not fight the best of the best. We're not saying Caleb Plant. We respect it. We're not saying Billy Joe Saunders. We respect it. But once you got all the belts to unify, and there was only one name that was available, you fought everybody under the sun. And I respect Jaime Munguia. Absolutely. But now this is the straw. This is the straw. This is the straw that makes us look at you and say, what in the world are you doing? How could you, as somebody that's supposed to be the man in boxing? You can do whatever you want, but what you're doing is a disservice to yourself, to the belts that you hold, and the legacy that you're trying to achieve. You cannot be the greatest Mexican boxer that we have ever seen if you keep on going down this road. Your biggest test is going to achieve greatness at a level that you never achieved by going and being mandatory for the undisputed title at 175. Yes, you won a belt, but you never beat all four, and you never won all four, and you never beat Bivol. And if we see better BF or Bivol come out as the undisputed champion, and Benavidez comes through and beats either one of them, it'll be something you would have never done. And his legacy will be seen as potentially way up here because he kept on pushing himself, even when he was, I believe, the WBC champion and was the mandatory for your undisputed status as an interim champion. Excuse me, mandatory for your undisputed status. Beat every reputable opponent, both that you had faced and that you hadn't faced. Caleb Plant and Boo Boo Andre beat everybody. Beat everybody. David Lemieux knocked them out. We can keep Durrell, beat him. We can keep going down. Shared opponents and unique opponents to himself. He beat everybody. And you were the last man to get in the way. And you kept on evading. But with you being backed by all the belt commissions because of how much money you bring in. Allowing you not to get stripped, not to get held against, and not to have to fight that mandatory. Not at all. But Benavidez has always been a fighting champion. And he still didn't get that shot, but doggone Edgar Berlanga, a brother who has not showed anything, that of evolution, of skill. Power's now been relegated to, oh, it's okay. It's good, but it ain't nothing incredible. And he can be exposed at a moment's notice. That's the opponent that you give a title shot to for the undisputed championship. It's laughable. And it makes you look decrepit, horrible, terrible when it comes to you and your legacy. Utterly despicable when it comes to how we view you as a boxer, because who you are now is not who you used to be. Who you used to be was somebody that we respected as a champion. We still respect you as being great, but now you're losing the beloved nature of the public because of what you're doing. You're losing your respect, and it's turning into hatred. It's turning into ire. It's turning into outright disdain, vitriol, disgust, because you are cheating us and yourself of what you can do. It makes no sense that this is the road that you're willing to go down, that this is the hill you're willing to die on as a champion. Like, it makes no sense. It makes none whatsoever. Because you at 168, you're reigning, and we love to see reigns. The reason why we like to see a reign is because you keep on facing every single opponent from 1 to 5 who earn the right, not giving opportunities to people that have no business being in the ring or having a right in the first place when it comes to you and your championships. You and your legacy. You and just you as Canelo. You got to earn that right to fight you now. But you're giving it to people that don't deserve it nearly as much as somebody like David Benavidez. Yet he is still now relegated, having to go out of his way to make his own legacy, which we applaud and love. But he should have had this opportunity to win, become undisputed, then go up and fight at 175. Coming into the division as the hottest name in boxing, as the face, potentially taking your spot as the face of boxing. There was a legitimate argument that if we saw David Benavidez beat Canelo, Benavidez now becomes officially the face of boxing, let alone if he knocks him out. With how dominant he's been, with how destructive he is, how much fanfare and how fan-friendly he is as a fighter. Somebody who will not be afraid to talk smack to you, to take it to you in press conferences, take it to you in the ring. Wants blood, wants a fight, wants a war, wants to break you down and beat you up. Everything that we want as boxing fans. He brings all that and more with a no-nonsense mentality. Yeah, he's fun, but don't get it twisted. That brother is out for blood, and he makes it known every time he steps in the ring. And that is a man who can be one of the top faces in boxing. If he beat, let alone if he knocked out Canelo Alvarez, we're looking at, he's got that title. That's what we're looking at that. We have to say that's what we're looking at. He's got that title if he does that. It's a real argument. Now he doesn't have the opportunity. With that level of backing. Canelo, you bring so much. But if you let anybody just be able to have an opportunity at it, who don't have a right to it, who don't have a right to earn themselves to fight you, you are hurting yourself and your legacy. And we're going to keep viewing you as somebody who is ducking your hardest competition. Your legacy no longer is going to be just you were a great fighter. Your legacy is going to be based on you never fought David Benavidez. That's going to be the biggest thing. Ironically enough, with all that you've accomplished, it's going to be an asterisk of you never fought David Benavidez. That's going to be the whole problem. You never fought David. As much as you accomplished. When it came time for the true biggest test in your career, when you were at your absolute best, you did not fight David Benavidez. You ran from David Benavidez. That's all people are going to talk about. That's all people are going to care about. That'll be the very thing that holds you back from being able to move up in many people's eyes in the all-time scale of greatness. You are capping your own legacy, and you know it. Or are you too delusional to understand it? But that's what's happening when it comes to Canelo. And if he doesn't change that, and with this fight with Edgar Berlanga, it's not helping him at all. It's not helping him at all in the slightest. It's not helping him in any way, shape, or form when it comes to his ability to be seen as a reputable champion, as somebody we can look and respect. You are hurting your own self. We know you're going to win. We know you're going to knock him out. I'm not saying every opponent needs to be a 50-50 fight. No. But it's got to be, there's a level of understanding that this brother you're in the ring with earned the right to be there. You are not putting those types of opponents in the ring with you on a consistent basis. It's just not happening. And when it comes to David Benavidez as the biggest man that has that title, the biggest man to be the boogeyman in your career, and you don't give him that shot when he's earned it more than anything and has been chasing you, you are the man that's hurting your own career. Nobody else. We'll look at him greater than we'll look at you, potentially, because of what he went out and kept on looking to do, not waiting around for greatness, becoming great. And in him becoming great, exposed what your greatness really was, which, while it is great, that's not a question. How great it actually is now gets put into question. That's what we then go back and see and start reevaluating your career, reevaluating your greatness, reevaluating how great you are in the grand scheme of boxing. And if we look at this now, if we see Benavidez really go and accomplish everything that he could, you may not be as great as you would have been if you had just gotten in the ring with him. You can lose and still be phenomenal. Ward and Gotti tied forever in eternity due to their wars that they went in the ring with. I don't even remember who won the majority of them. I just remember that they are chained at the hip with greatness from what they did to each other. They weren't even the best boxers in their own era. Those two alone helped make both of them synonymous with eternity, ingratiated with immortality. That's what Gotti and Ward did for each other, just because they got in the ring and put everything they had. Canelo, you can lose and still have a war that makes everybody respect you to kingdom come. It's just the truth. We don't look at Hagler and Hearns any worse than we look at Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard. We don't look at anybody worse than anybody, because everybody fought everybody. And my gosh, they were all great. It's not even about who won, more so than these are the four kings, because these folks stepped up and they beat everybody else at their disposal. And when they got in the ring with each other, it was fireworks every single time. Either a spectacular KO, a barn burner of a fight, a 3-round spectacle that ended as one of the greatest fights we had ever seen in history, was one of the greatest rounds that we had ever seen in history, or just a classic all around that people to this day still dispute who won. Any of those four situations, you can understand which one I'm talking about, strictly by just describing the fight. That's how great they were and what their greatness perpetuated when they got in the ring with each other. Just the description lets you know who was in that fight. That's how great they were. That's how great they are. That's how when their greatness got put to test against each other, it then got synonymous with history. Canelo, you have that ability. But if you are willingly holding yourself back from becoming synonymous with history, you will still be synonymous with history. It will just be for the thing that you don't want to be synonymous with. Fear, ducking, scared, never taking the challenge that is put in front of you. Similar to how we talk about Floyd Mayweather in some respects. Not fighting the best at their best when they could have beaten you. You don't want that. Because now we see Floyd every day fighting for how great he really is in a lot of people's eyes, which he is great. But when people bring up those types of things, those asterisks, that are indeed real and are a part of his career, it's a problem. Because he knows it's a problem. He could have fought Errol Spence or Keith Thurman for his 50th fight. He fought Conor McGregor, a non-boxer. It shouldn't have been a fight that happened in the first place. It shouldn't have. And that was not a test of your skill. That doesn't make you great. That's not as great as Rocky Marciano's 49-0. It's not. It's not as great as Sugar Ray Robinson's 40-0. And then getting beat, and then going 80-0 afterwards. It's not as great as that. It's not as great as Pacquiao's 8 reign championships, or rather 8 division world championships. It's not as great as that. And he knows it. He's not the greatest of all time. Argue with the wall, because you know it's true. If you're a boxing savant, you know that statement is true. Floyd Mayweather's nowhere close to the greatest of all time. Greatest defensive fighter, you definitely got an argument. But as a greatness as a fighter, nowhere close to the best of all time. Nowhere close. Nowhere close. But it's because of what he did and what he didn't do. And with Canelo, running to that same thing. It's not just what you did. What you didn't do is hurting you. Because it's hurting you. If you don't fix it right now and fight him as soon as possible, it's going to hurt you to the point that you will never be able to run away from it. Hurt you to the point that you will never be able to get away from what that does to your legacy, which will incredibly and indefinitely impede how high your greatness can be. And you never will be able to get out of that shadow. Never will be able to do it. But with that being said, as we go out of the world of boxing into the world of the NBA, we had to talk about real quickly Team USA. And now the Olympics are right around the corner, and they have gone, I believe, undefeated in their exhibition bouts. And the biggest story of it all is one man and one man only. LeBron James has been going on a tear at near 40 years old, has been put himself with the best players in the world surrounding him. He has clearly become the best player in the world again when playing around Steph, Edwards, Tatum, Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo, and the rest, Anthony Davis, and the rest of the cavalcade of talent that they have on Team USA. This man went in his last game, I believe, what was it, against Serbia? No, against Germany. Led them on an 11, scored the last 11 points by himself to will them to win 92-88. Got the game winner against South Sudan, a team that nobody thought would do anything. But they were able to come back and, willed by LeBron, get back the lead and win the game outright. Scoring 20-plus points in 20 minutes. On a stacked roster, he's clearly the man that is driving this entire engine. It's incredible how we're seeing this brother be so dominant and still be able to be this consistent. It doesn't make any sense. The ability that he's done to adapt his game to fit every single era, and more specifically, fit what his body can do to still produce at an elite level. When many people thought that LeBron and his athleticism, once it went away, LeBron would go away. There would be no ability for somebody 6'9", 250, at one point 6'9", 280 when he was in Miami and Cleveland. Somebody of that build with that much athletic talent around, or rather at their disposal. Once that goes away, normally we see the game of great players get severely diminished. Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter, Shawn Kemp, Blake Griffin. We've seen it countless times before. These athletic freaks of nature. Once their athleticism goes, they are nowhere close to the same player that they used to be. And they can't do what they used to in any way, shape, or form. Become role players. Dwayne Wade, we can keep going down the list. But with LeBron, it's been somehow. This man is still being the best player on the best team in the world. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's a testament to his greatness. Again, the Old Testament, as we call it, is incredible. A name that has been I'll tell you what. Right now, I've been picking up on it. Saw it on TikTok. For now, what's I forget the name. Something Edge, I think. But that's the brother that pointed out. But this is real. Call him the Old Testament because he continually keeps on showing up when it seems like it's impossible. Everything that he said would happen when he was young has now happened, and he's still being able to produce when he's old. It's an incredible thing to watch. It's an incredible thing to experience. The Old Testament is just constant. That's what I'm going to start calling him now. The Old Testament, because he is just timeless. He's timeless. He is timeless. Everything we said he was going to be, quote unquote, when he was young, is now coming to fruition. Every old prophecy that was stated about him is coming to pass when it comes to his boxing career. As an Old Testament, it's phenomenal. But him as a player is just so incredible. But when it comes to the rest of this team, there's a big concern. There's a huge concern. It's the fact that they keep on seemingly playing below their level. We understand completely that basketball has become a global game. There's more talent in the world than anywhere else in the world. The NBA alone, or the NBA players on Team USA, as opposed to when they were in 1992 with the Dream Team. There were 9 players that played internationally in the Olympics when the Dream Team played. 61 played in this year's Olympics. Some of them are multiple-time MVPs. Giannis, Nikola Jokic. Would have been Joel Embiid if Joel Embiid didn't go and play for Team USA and instead play for Cameroon or France, one of those 2 countries I believe that he's from. Got a background in. But we are looking at, in a more talented era, more competition than ever before. We completely understand that. And we see it throughout the entirety of the league. Luka, Dennis Schroeder, again, Nikola Jokic. But when it comes to Team USA still, the expectation is we beat everybody. And that still is true. Let's not get that twisted at all. That's still true. We still should be able to beat everybody. And it should be competitive. But it shouldn't be these types of close game-winning situations. South Sudan was up on Team USA for the majority of that game when they won. When they came back and won in terms of Team USA. That, what? Excuse me? With winning Gabriel? With Thor? Is it PJ Thor or JP Thor? Who plays on the Charlotte Hornets? Barely getting any minutes, was nothing but an athletic brother. Literally an athletic brother on the Hornets. All of a sudden now is coming out as a top player on that team and giving it to Team USA. This is a problem. Not because I'm disrespecting the talent of others. I'm saying when we put together what we are as a country when it comes to basketball, this team should be still dominating the Kingdom Come. Yet they're not. One of the biggest reasons why is because of Joel Embiid. The flopping minutes that he is on Team USA. Mind you, USA basketball and FIBA basketball, completely different rules. We're playing under FIBA rules. Flopping and stuff like that don't work. Physicality is what you see in the Olympics. In FIBA, over in Europe, you see you can use your weight. You can use your size. You can get touched up. You can be physical. And it ain't called a foul. If you're stronger, use your strength. If you're weaker, you better be savvy. That's what it comes out to be. Everybody can still compete, but it allows for physical play to actually take hold and be something. Joel Embiid is still playing under the regime of the NBA, where he's flopping, where he's falling, where he's still giving up on plays instead of trying to score, trying to get to the line, and it's not working. It's not working at all. To a degree also with Steve Kerr and the way he's coaching the squad, it is a demonstrative thing. We're starting to see semblances of Darvin Ham, are we not? When it comes to how you coach and put together lineups. This is getting iffy. And as much as LeBron has been dominant and he's been able to will this team to get back on track whenever they're down, it can't be like this on a consistent basis. It can't. Because if it is, we're looking at a situation and a problem for Team USA where these types of close games, if you got, I've said this before about other players, about other teams in the NBA. If you have to rely on game winners as your main reason for why you're able to win, that's not going to help you win. It's not. If everything comes down to close games, but you got clutch players that can come out and pull it and be able to win, you're most likely going to be under 500. And for this situation, not get a gold medal. Because if you are in a close game every game, you're not going to win every game. You're not. You're not. You're just not. You can't be playing this level of to your opponent and expect to keep coming out because, oh, you got LeBron. You can't do that. The reason why we want complete domination is because that's what this team can be and do if they compete as a whole to the level that every player can. Anthony Davis been playing phenomenal. Bam, respect what Bam's been doing. Steph has been Steph. He had a couple bad games, but still has been Steph Curry for the majority of the time. Anthony Edwards has been the dog that we said he was going to be. But even beyond it, the rotations, the play, the defense at sometimes, it's been laxing and it's stressful because we can't have that going into the actual Olympic Games that happen, I believe, this week. It's impossible. You can't have that happen this week or next week. That happen because if it does, I guarantee you, these heroics of LeBron, these constant 20-point performances, these explosions of scoring and stops that he will go on in a span of 5 minutes at the end of the third or fourth quarter, where it wills the team. You can't rely on that forever. I say that about anybody. I don't care if it was Kobe. I don't care if it was Jordan. I don't care if it was Melo who was on the Team USA. You can't rely on that to carry you. You need consistent production from everybody. And right now, we're not seeing it. It's a problem. And if we keep seeing that problem, trust and believe, we will get beat. The expectation is we will dominate everybody. The reality, we play like this in the Olympics. When the games actually count, we will get beat. And it won't be LeBron's fault. I'll tell you that right now. Will not be his fault with the way that he's been scoring and the way he's been playing. Everybody else better pick up what they got to do. And Steve Kerr better get his coaching right. Because right now, Kerr's being exposed and this team is being exposed. And we can't have that if we want to actually get this dream team to be a reality and to win what we expect them to win, which is dominating the world and showing that we are still the best basketball country in the nation. Because we have sent our best out there. Saying like the FIBA World Cup, we have sent our actual best out there. And if we don't produce now, we should be able to dominate. There's no reason why we should lose. None whatsoever. But if we do, brother, it's going to be a major problem. Major problem indeed. With all that being said, this has been another episode of the Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Again, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show. Hopefully, hey, tell me how the sound sounds. We're trying something new with the volume and whatnot on the microphones. So we're not getting as much popping and scratching and whatnot. Just testing out to see how it goes. But again, leave a like on the video, comment on some opinions, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire of a community together. Again, I would love to interact with you, talk about what we talked about on this show, and much more. Whatever the world you also want me to cover, send it to me, comment it to me, and I'll cover right here on this show. So again, thank you for tuning in and listening. I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. Peace and love. We are out of here.